an interesting conference of Jewish thought leaders has been taking place at the Anu Museum. The Koret Center for Jewish Civilization is holding an international conference at the museum, Anu Museum of the Jewish People in Tel Aviv on the campus of the university. And here to talk more about it is Irina Nevzlin, the chairwoman of the board of directors of the Anu Museum. Hello and welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you finally.
So listen, I love the museum. I go a lot. I spend a lot of time there. Let's talk about this conference and why also the rebranded Anu Museum is, it's been redone. There's so much newness and new exhibitions. First, start by telling us about that and why it is such a wonderful place to visit when people come to Israel.
So thank you very much for being a fan of Anu. And for those who don't know, Anu is the biggest Jewish museum in the world. And the story that we tell, we've been transforming that museum for the last 15 years, so it's brand new now. So anyone who comes to Israel should visit. And the story that we tell is the story of the success of the Jewish people. It's not only history, it's also about our success everywhere in the world. We want people to be proud. We want people to feel connected to their roots. And we want people to understand that Jewish story is so amazing and so complicated. So that's why we've been transforming this museum. And I'm really hoping that everybody who comes to Israel will come and visit.
It really is something special and quite incredible. And now, like with the Koret Center of Education, tell us about this conference and why this is also a resource that is really helping to carry so much forward for the younger generations.
Right. So look, we all know that there is a crisis going on. There's a couple of crises going on in the world right now, and especially with the Jewish people, both internally in Israel and also with the Jewish people, with global Jewish community and Israeli Jews. And this crisis, you can decide this is a political one, you can decide this is a divide, this is a rift, but there is a reason for those crises. And I think we all believe that the reason for this crisis is the question of identity, is the question of how you, as a Jew, define yourself. What do you say when you are asked who you are? What do you say? What you're against of, or what you are for of? And we think there is not enough work has been done to help people build strong Jewish identity and connection to the roots. Now, what I mean by that is that everybody is very different. You can be a religious Jew and have that type of identity. You can be a non-believer but love the tradition. You can love the state of Israel. You can have a great relationship with the Jewish diaspora around the world. You can love Jewish culture, but you have some way that you're connecting to your roots. Now, those roots are of everyone. And we forget that. When we have a crisis now, what we forgot is the fact that we're one family. We forget that the fight should happen between brothers and sisters. We do it within Israel. We do it within the different communities. So what we want to make sure, and the Koret Center was established for that. This is a Koret Center for Jewish Civilization. It's a partnership project between two organizations, which is Tel Aviv University, one of the leading universities in the world, and Anu, which is the biggest Jewish museum in the world. And what we want to help people with is that we want to help them understand that the topic of identity is not some academia topic, it's not some niche topic, it's actually a question of who you are and where you belong of every one of us. So what we want to develop a curriculum for the schools, for the children, for the grown-ups, in the academia. We want to train leadership. And the only question we want to answer is, how do you help a person become stronger, with a stronger identity, with stronger sense of belonging and pride to your own people? And so this is what we came here to do. And I think it couldn't be more critical. Well, I mean, now is the time that you see this is not a nice to have thing anymore. There's a sense of urgency for the last couple of years that we've all been feeling.
For sure, especially when we're talking about, not only all over the world, but also you're looking in the United States, people are questioning what does Zionism mean. People are forgetting where it's founded on, rather than it's not a political construct that has kind of been become part of the narrative with a lot of anti-Israel sentiment. So why is it also important to really educate on what Zionism is and what the importance is of having the state of Israel for the Jewish people, for those that were born not knowing a world without Israel?
Right. So we have been living in the world, the Jewish people have been living in the world where we didn't have our own country for thousands and thousands of years. It's only last 75 years, and this is an amazing year to establish a center, it's only 75 years that we have our own state. We always had it as a fantasy. We always had B'Shana Haba B'Yerushalayim, next year in Jerusalem, but we never had it in reality. Now, this fantasy was always uniting us. This is what we always wanted. This is one place which all of us can feel home, whether we live here or not. This is a place where I'm sure every Jew who comes to visit feels a connection. It can be very different ways of connection, but you can feel something in this land. You know this is your home. Now, we keep forgetting that this is the only real home that we have. And I think I want to add some perspective to the crisis and to all the difficult things that are happening. The country is only 75 years. Figuring out its identity, figuring out what Israeli identity is, figuring out the relationship between the American Jews, the Jews from France and everywhere in the world, with Israel, it's all very new to us. We've never been in that situation. But I think we need to remember that the Zionist dream and the dream of having a state of Israel and the dream of Shana Haba B'Yerushalayim was something that always held us together. There was nothing else. That was that and the tradition, and remembering that every year we have this fantasy. It's just fantasy now became reality, and we need to learn to live with that reality, and it's just very new.
And what are some of the topics that are going to be, that are being addressed in this conference to, to really help target and strategize how to reach people and have them really, even those that haven't heard or delved into their own personal story, how to get them interested in discovering their own journey and their own family's journey?
To look, there are different ways of how we could influence. And we as a museum, for example, and I'm here as the chair of the board of the museum, right? So we do that on the level of the experience that people go through when they come. And people come in masses. We had, from the moment that we opened, we had over 600,000 visitors over the last year and a half. But this is where we influence the audience that decides and chooses to come to the museum. What the center is doing, and the partnership with the Tel Aviv University, is taking it up a level. Because what you really want to have is you want to have leadership that is educated on the importance of identity. And so one track of the conference is going to deal with the leadership. What you want to make sure is that academia sees in that the issue is of utmost urgency. And so for that reason, we'll have the academic track. And what I want ultimately to see as a result of that is that this goes and is infused into the education system.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Irina. Pleasure to meet you, and thanks for coming in and doing such great work.
Thank you very much.
Girl power.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.